Okay, so this is a repair of a hole at the top of the B-post area. This is not a hole here, that's where the bolt goes through for the fender, but this area over in here that I'm sticking my finger through is kind of rotted out, and I cleaned it up, and it clearly needs to be repaired. Here it is looking from the inside. And what I did is I made a pattern to go in here, lining up especially with this little groove that cut out here. And it took me a couple of tries. The first try, this little tab here on the end did not line up right. I had it too low. On the second try, it was better, and with a little very patient fitting of the actual metal piece, I was able to get that to go in here. I don't want to push this in too far just now because I just had it in there a second ago and I had trouble getting it back out. It's that good a fit. So I'm thinking it's going to be a pretty good repair. So before I put it in and clamp it in for welding, which I'll show you on the next segment, I'm going to clean it up and I'm going to paint it all in the area here with weld through primer so it'll be protected before it's welded on both sides. One of the things I did here was I flanged this piece with my flanging tool. That's the flanging tool. That's because I want this metal to sit flush as possible in here, because I got another repair piece to reinforce the holes. The 3 holes that hold the bows for the convertible top go through here, and just like the other side, I'm going to put a reinforcing piece over here. But I'm repairing this hole first, and on the other side, I want the metal that comes through on this side to be flush if I can, as flush as possible with this surface here. And I'll show it to you after I get it back in again. But that's what I'm working on today, and I'll show you after I've got it clamped and cleaned up, and then I'll show you what it looks like after it's welded. Okay, so here is that piece inserted up in here and clamped. I've got it backed up by a piece of copper behind here. This is a clamp that's used for, it's got a copper backing plate behind it. It's used for doing holes and stuff. And I've got a really good fit right up in here. Over on the other side where I've got the flange, and I want it to come through flat. Let's see if I can get a good shot of that for you here. Okay. Down here on the other side, this is where the flange is. You see I can move my finger right along it. It's pretty flat there. Up here I got a little bit of a gap. So I'm going to weld the other parts first, and I'm going to bang this in before I weld that. Okay, so here is that patch welded. Not cleaned up yet. Pretty decent seams. I mean, my welding is still not an expert, but it's in there very solid. This little patch here, which was, just like a little finger going into a butt weld, I've kind of overdone it, but I wanted to make sure I get all the voids there. On the opposite side where I made the flanges, so it will come out even over here. We'll see after I grind them down, but that's all done. I also did on the back of that little finger, on the back side, I can see light through here. One little spot over here. Where's my finger? There it is. Oh yeah, over here. But generally it's going to look really good once I grind that down. If there's a couple little voids, I can always put some seam sealer in there or some metal filler. And once it's painted, I no longer have a gnarly top of the B-post. And that means the next thing is I'll put on a new patch that goes here for these 2 holes, and a hole that will have to be drilled in here to have a really beefy support for the convertible bow for this side, just like I did on the other side. So that's next. Okay, and here is that finished repair All solid over here where I had like a finger hole over there. All solid back here, up here solid. And nice and smooth. I'm going to put a new reinforcing plate in here for the convertible top bow. On the inside where I made that flange, let's see if I can get you a good shot of that. Okay, believe it or not, this is where that hole was, and it's nice and smooth now. So that worked out well. Goes around the corner here and in the back. So that's the end of that repair. When next part is to put in the reinforcing plate that goes in these two holes, and a new hole that's going to go here. Okay, so over in this area is where I added the reinforcing piece underneath here, along here. And on top of it, I've got the 3 weld nuts that connect to the screws that hold the convertible top bow. Now I also had down in this area, I had a bunch of holes, and also a hole over here. Well, little holes. I cut it out to make it a bigger hole. And I have since welded in a piece along here, and also a piece. This was a hole here. It's now been filled in. And looking at it on the other side, you can see over in here where that whole area has been filled in pretty decently. Matches the old contour here. I've got a void here, got to be re-welded, and a little filler in there to make it look finished. But that's the last of the prep before we get more serious about getting this sill welded in. Ended up with a pretty good fit along here. The bottom of the sill is going to butt weld up to the side of the car there, and not going to need an elaborate patch piece going from here up into here like I did on the other side. I am, however, going to fill in this piece here with a new piece here, because there's still a ridge here. I want this to be flush. So we'll fill in a piece here. It'll go up inside a little bit, inside of the flanges for the B-post. Give it a little bit of extra strength. On the inside of the car over here, like the last one, there's no, oops, I don't know if we got any light in here. I'll have to show you that later. There's just a welded on piece of metal that somebody did for a bracket. And over here on the top of the frame, what I had here was a broken off bolt that mounts this body mount. And what I had to do, I couldn't get that bolt out. It was, unlike the other side, it wasn't sticking up, it was flush, and I couldn't really get anything on it, couldn't get it to move. Also, adjacent to it on either side was pretty much rotted out holes on the top of the frame here. So what I did was I cut out a rectangular piece about that long and about the width of half of the frame. I precisely located where this was before on that patch piece, welded a weld nut to the underside of it, fit it all into the frame in a nice patch here. I'm sorry I forgot to video that. And then I did a butt weld of that patch piece with the weld nut on the other side. And this is now precisely located, as you can see by the this fender bolt coming through, which is where it's supposed to be when the car is finished. So that was a little tricky. Sorry I didn't get better pictures of it, but at least you can see the result.